Good morning and welcome to Shamanic Sundays. Thank you for being here with us today. Me and my pops here together, and you here with us as well, wherever you are in the world, whatever time of day or night you are joining us from. Thank you for being here. We are up on a ridge in Santa Barbara, this beautiful, beautiful place. So you've had a little bit of a rough week, so I'm going to get to that in a second. But rather than ask you to do the prayers of gratitude to start off, I'm going to give thanks again for each of you being here with us, and for this beautiful spot that we are in right now, and for the spirits of this place, the ancestor spirits, all of our relatives, human and beyond human, and all of your relatives and ancestors, everything that's gone right in the world so that we can be sitting here today. Oh, thank you.
Oh, Dios.
Yeah. So Shamanic Sundays, you have been one of the I think attributes of shamanism, if I understand correctly, is you often go through dark chapters, and how do you work through those and find the light, and how do you deal with that kind of energy. And this week you had eye surgery, which is why you're wearing those glasses, and why we decided to come be outside today, because he's had to be inside a lot this week. So we wanted to be outside to greet the day with you. And then we also lost a very dear friend of ours, one of your very best friends in the world for 50 plus years, 52 years or so. And my mom's best friend for that many years, even more years. Mom knew him even before you. And he was a part of our life growing up. Him and his daughter and her mother and our families were very intertwined for many years. And so that's on one hand, it's a gift because we've had him in our life, got to have him in our life, and there's grief in letting him go. Grateful he's not suffering anymore.
Amen.
The grief in letting him go. And you've had a couple friends this last 6 months that you've had to say goodbye to in this realm. So I just want to honor you for the work that you do and helping people through hard times, and then ask you the question, because it's applicable for all of us, some tools that you've learned through shamanic practices that are helping you to find the light during hard times like this.
Okay, let me just drop in and see what comes. Trusting the process of cosmic consciousness of the cosmos that we're in, and it's in us. So we have access to cosmic consciousness, the creative power, wisdom power of the universe that creates all the beauty around us that I guess viewers can see behind us in the Santa Ynez Mountains there in the foothills behind us. So tuning into that divine presence, what comes up for me in response to your question is gratitude for the divine presence. It's always present. And when I drop down deep, like a pebble, drop a pebble down into a pond, and you just watch it slowly going all the way down until it hits the bottom. When I go inside myself and I drop all the way down to the bottom, I get to the place where peace abides, and where wisdom guides, and where love provides, and equanimity and serenity thrives when I live wise. And so what does live wise mean? That for me, it's remembering there's a larger framework of reference of being able to hold whatever happens, let's say, on the human experience, the comings and goings, and the ups and the downs, and the joys and the sufferings and the whole mishbucha of the human experience, in a framework of knowing on the deepest level of our being that we're way more than our physical bodies, and the ego identified with our ego, with our physical bodies and all that goes along with that, self-importance and entitlement and attachment to wanting to have things go and show up the way ego wants it, and all kinds of stories that the ego can make up out of attachment, and the suffering that comes when ego doesn't get what it wants, like our friends dying or our friends suffering, and we don't have the power to change that. So for me, it's remembering, while having all the compassion I can, and empathy for what they're going through, and trying to be there and help and support in whatever way I can. I can't change the outcome. Is holding what's happening on this human realm in this larger frame of reference, and then knowing that comes from as many years of altered state experience through shamanic rituals and ceremonies, like going on the vision quest for over 50 years and opening up to the wisdom of nature within, and the wisdom of nature and the rhythms and cycles of the coming and going and the rising and the falling, and knowing that Spirit's present in all of it, in all of us, and we're way more than whatever our physical bodies are going through, and our emotional reactions and stories that our egos can cook up about what's happening. We're way more than that. So for me, it's you might say having a foot in both worlds. It's having a foot here in this physical plane world and our human incarnation, and also having a foot in the spirit, knowing Spirit's in everyone, and Spirit's always working towards fullest blossoming, greatest good, but it's not guaranteed in this, what shamanism speaks about is the middle world, this middle world. It's not guaranteed. And that's why we're given our life, is so we can show up in the challenges in our personal lives, in our physical bodies, in our relationships, and challenges posed by what's happening in the world that is so troublesome and that triggers whatever it triggers inside of us. How can we show up in those situations and be the ones to work with the truth of what's happening within us and externally, in a way that opens a doorway to bring through fullest blossoming, greatest good. And remembering that, going back to my work with children with life-threatening illness, and seeing them in horrendous situations that I didn't have power to change, including sitting with a number of these beautiful young innocent children as they were going through their dying process, which I didn't have the power to change the outcome, and doing the work I needed to do inside of me to be able to keep my heart open in the pressures of all those situations by connecting with Spirit, opening my consciousness to connect with Spirit, knowing Spirit's present here. And the reason I'm in this situation is to be a channel of Spirit's light and love through me, from Spirit to me, because I don't create light and love. The sun coming up, what we see here, and I didn't create any of this. None of us creates it. It's created by the wisdom power of the universe, whatever you want to call it, and that wisdom power is here now. And so it's not by accident I'm in the situation, whatever it is, with my friend who's dying or whatever. Spirit brought me here, and it's an opportunity for me to do the work of opening my heart to Spirit's presence and being channeled for its healing light and love to that person without attachment to an outcome or trying to change the situation, because the outcomes are in bigger hands, and surrendering with faith and trust that whatever the person's going through is difficult and challenging, and as it might be, that there's something going on a deeper level. There's an old song. Some of you listeners might know this song. Beneath the water, a strong undertow, and the surface don't show what the deep waters know. Beneath the waters, a strong undertow, and the surface don't know what the deep waters know. No, the surface don't show what the deep waters know. An example of that, the night my friend crossed over a couple of nights ago, I called him that afternoon.
We can say his name.
Jeff Anderson.
Sweet
Jefé,
Jeff.
we call him Jefé. Traveling the Spirit Road right now. I called him that afternoon. He lived in Tucson, and he wasn't able to talk on the phone, but I just left a message there for him, supporting him in his letting go process, letting go into the spirit, into light, into infinite light and love, that it's the essence of our being. And then I went to sleep that night, and I had a dream about the middle of the night where I saw an altar set up with all kinds of altar sacred objects, and I kneeled down by the altar and taking in, noticing the different objects and the power and the beauty of the different sacred objects there, but something felt like it was missing. It felt there's something missing here in this altar. And then I realized what's missing is I need to light a candle here. And so I went ahead in the dream, I lit a candle, and then everything felt right. And at 6 o'clock the next morning, I get a call that Jeff had died, and it was just about that time. So I offer that as an example of how there's deeper currents working beneath the surface of what we see, understand in our ordinary consciousness. That's the least of what's going on. And sometimes in these terrible suffering situations, having faith and trust that something deeper is working here in a way we can't understand, we certainly don't like, and we wish it was different, and yet it's happening, and we're involved in it in some way, then opening to the reason I'm here is to be a channel for healing light and love to that person or into that situation. So that's those are some what comes up in response to your question that you asked me about working with those kinds of challenging situations. And I feel gratitude for all of those, being with those children when they're crossing over, having that, being with Jeff a few weeks ago, and whatever the situation is, that
And thinking back of Dawn, whose birthday was yesterday, who passed some time, and Susan, who's having a hard time right now, and so many of our relatives around the world in different ways.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we're, whatever that brings up, whatever our personal challenges and the challenges of the world and how they impact us in whatever way, the bottom line is, how can I create, to me anyway, is how can I create a response, a relationship to the truth of what I'm experiencing in this situation that opens the doorway to bring through fullest blossoming and greatest good. And since you never really know what is fullest blossoming and greatest good for someone else, that calls for humility, it calls for surrendering into the sacred mystery. The Lakota people don't have a word for God. They have Wachan Tonka, sacred mystery. It's a sacred mystery. Surrender into it, and I'm in it. And so what can I do in this situation to be an opening for spirit coming through me in support of the other people in the situation? We can't go wrong. We cannot go wrong in opening our hearts to the infinite, unconditional light and love that is the essence of our being, and being a channel for it, and just sending it into that other person, sending it in past their physical body, because that's not who they really are, through their ego stories, not who they really are, sending it into the essence of their being, connecting with that light and love that's underneath all of that, which on a deeper level is a reminder as they're going through suffering, oh, there's more to me than that. I'm way more than that, whether they're consciously aware of that or not. I think when we send that to somebody else, their soul gets that and remembers it and helps them through their hard time.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. This morning you were sharing that you and Mom woke up both feeling really sad, and then you got a message around finding the joy. Yeah,
there's always I think inherent in us, in our soul, in the essence of our being, that is infinite light and love, is joy. It's joy of being alive. The opportunity of a human incarnation. It's incredible beauty, and the opportunity to open our awareness and our consciousness to the beauty of creation, the magnificence of creation of Mother Earth, and the diversity of what she brings forth from her womb, and the opportunity to be able to see and learn and taste and feel and touch and connect, meaningfully connect with people, from our hearts. There's joy, brings joy. So I think we always have, at the essence of our being is joy, as compared to happiness, which is it's depending on conditions. I'm happy, I'm not happy, I got what I want, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
But joy is an inner quality. I think it's always there.
Yeah.
And if I'm not in touch with it, then, and I'm suffering in some way, then it's incumbent on me to go inside and look at, well, what's the story I'm telling myself that's creating my suffering, and it's disconnecting me from the joy and the love, the infinite light and love that's inside of me always.
And that's inside of you always.
When you say you, you're talking to everybody.
You, our community out there.
Yeah.
Out there, yeah.
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 I'm joyful to be able to just sit here with you and with who's ever listening to this. I'm joyful for your lives, and you're showing up in your lives, and you're showing up, and all of us doing the best we can to wake up and wise up and live the love that we are in response to the challenges of our lives, because what's called for, I think, in these huge challenges we're facing is precisely that, to wake up and remember that we have the ability, by connecting with the essence of our being, the gifts of grace of infinite light and love that live at the essence of our being, to connect with it and be channels for it out into the world, bringing through more what I call sweet medicine, more kindness, more compassion, more tenderness, more beauty, more encouragement, more strength, more generosity, sweet medicine.
For all, I would add to that, for all of our relations, especially those whom we don't feel that kind of warm fuzziness for, or those who, like, really, you call them like the button pushers, what's the other word you use for those people?
Well, button pushers is a good word.
Yeah. There's another one you say sometimes though, but like that feeling, like oftentimes the biggest work is like, how do we hold those people that we see as the perpetrators of evil and violence and injustice, and how do we hold them not in necessarily like agreement by any means, but like how do we hold them in a light of compassion and love? Because if we're not really holding ourselves in compassion either, it feels like.
Yeah, and then we're extending our out into the larger field.
Yeah,
it's like putting wood on the fire when you're trying to tamp it down, pouring oil on it, exploding it up. Like right now, it's huge reactivity to what happened a couple of days ago, where that young man killed another young man. And what the violence that was in both of them. And where does violence come from? To me, violence comes from fear, ultimately, from fear. And where does fear come from? I think the basic root of fear is the illusion that Western Eurocentric cultures bring us up in, that we're separate. We're all separate, and that's going against the reality of the universe. There's no such thing as a separate thing. We're all intermeshed, we're all interwoven. So from the get-go, with that belief that we're indoctrinated in, there's anxiety and there's fear, and so whatever the culture teaches us, the authoritarian figures or our parents or whatever, is the other, the different one, and it becomes threatening to us, and then therein the seeds of that violence can come from. So I hold all acts of violence in it's not okay on whatever levels. It's not okay, but I think Ram Dass said it really well. He said, don't put stop, do what you need to do to take care of yourself, but don't put other people out of your heart. Yeah. So for both of those men who committed the violence, I know on the deepest level of their being, they were fearful, and the only way they knew how to deal with their fear was by violence to others. And so if I'm violent toward them, their being, that's putting more violence out into the field. So I condemn their actions, any actions that are hurtful to other people, to animals, to Mother Earth. I condemn all of those actions. But my work is not to put their being out of my own heart, or then I'm being hurtful to myself, and the energy that comes out of my anger or my negative judgments about them, just spewing more poison into the world, and at a time when the world needs more healing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And bringing that same concept back, I think, to the process of death and letting things die out that are no longer serving us, so we can make room for more love, and that includes in someone's transition time, the anger that can come up, that how things have played out as the person's facing their death, or things they said or did as they're going through their process of getting ready to cross over. Letting go of things, did I say this already, of things we need to let die out in our own selves and lives, and letting go of that. Can you speak to any tools around that? And then let's wrap up for this week so you don't have to talk too much more.
So you're asking me specifically, say it again?
You mean my rambling wasn't clear?
Well,
tools for letting die out that which is not serving us either, judgments, hurts, fears.
I'm asking a question.
Yeah.
What do I want to experience in this moment of being alive? Because this moment right now is the only time I can experience whatever I want to experience. Do I want to experience suffering? If I want to experience suffering and keep that going, which I have a right to, it's not even that you shouldn't or it's bad, it's just simply a choice. I'm the one who's going to experience the consequence of my choice. So if I want to keep suffering going, then I can hold on to anger and judgment about myself or some aspect of myself or other people and their being, and constriction, tightness, inflammation, suffering. Or in this moment of being alive, which I have no guarantee that there'll be another moment. The truth is that when the next breath leaves, there's no guarantee that there'll be another breath, sitting here on the rock, have a stroke or a heart attack and pitch forward, and boom, that's the end. So each act that we do, reminding myself that each act that I do could be my last, so be present for it. And I want to choose to not use my attention, the power of my attention, because when we put our attention as energy, gets stronger, into thought forms and stories and identities that create suffering. Instead, I want to open the instrument of my mind to consciously bring my awareness to love's presence, to spirit's presence. And as long as I'm alive and in my right mind, I have access to that cosmic consciousness of infinite light and love and joy and deep inner peace, and can connect with it and be a channel for it. And so each moment of being alive is an opportunity to make a conscious choice of answering the question that Spirit asks us when it gives us the breath. So how do you want to use me? You want to use me to create pain and suffering and keep that going, or you want to use this gift of life force that I give you to open your consciousness to infinite light and love?
Oh.
So the tool is the question, owning the truth that this is the only time I can experience whatever I want to experience. Take ownership. What do I want to experience? And then use that breath to fuel life force coming in, or creative energy, to co-create with Spirit what you want to create as your experience in the moment of being alive.
May it be so.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. Remembering you are more than you think you are. Remembering your intention and the power of questions to yourself of how you want to show up.
what you want to experience,
what
and
you
being
want to
alive in
experience
this sacred
in
moment
this
right
moment.
now.
And we are sending you strength and love and prayers to
And
do that,
gratitude
and gratitude.
for your being
Thank you.
and
Have
for
a
your
good week.
being.